morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus this morning is on women in business. We've all heard about the proverbial glass ceiling. It continues to be broken by women in many walks of life, but there are experts and women advocates that say we still have a way to go regarding leadership and empowerment. My first guest represents an organization that is made up of professional women determined to change the face and quality of leadership in the Wisconsin business community. Pat Ackerman is the chair-elect for Milwaukee Women Inc., and she is also the Senior VP of Investor Relations and Treasurer at A.O. Smith. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
And right off, I need you to tell us more about Milwaukee Women Inc. and what it is you do.
Sure. Milwaukee Women Inc. was founded about 15 years ago, and it was really a grassroots effort of several women leaders in Milwaukee who identified that there wasn't enough diversity in the boardrooms of Wisconsin companies. And their premise was what gets measured gets attention and action. And they found the Milwaukee Women Inc. was founded on research. So it was about measuring what the composition of the boardroom looked like. And we've made some great strides, but there's still some work to do, and we publish our research every year. Where in addition to the research, we've evolved to talking about best practices. So we've had numerous conversations with CEOs and board members about diversity, and we've come to the conclusion now where we're entering a new phase. It's pretty much accepted that diversity equals better performance. The business case for diversity is no longer required to be voiced so significantly. But now it's about how do we find talented women in the community. So we've established some best practices through the conversations that we've had with CEOs. Some of them are changing the mindset. I'm a CEO, I'm going to decide, I'm going to tell everybody I know that I'm looking for more female board members. So just getting the word out. And then thinking about what criteria are used. Historically, those criteria have been sitting CEOs. Well, there just aren't that many female sitting CEOs.
So true.
So moving beyond that criteria and thinking about what are really the skills that I need in my boardroom. What is my company going to be facing in the next 5 years? Is it Internet of Things? Is it consumerism? Is it internet digital platforms, cyber risk and cybersecurity? What are some of the skills that I'm going to need as a board, as a CEO and as the board? So expanding beyond that sitting CEO concept to skills, and then thinking about cultivating the pipeline. I may not have a board opening this year, but if I look at the age of my directors, I can see that I'm going to need to add to the board or replace board members in the future, and start thinking about how I can get women into my pipeline, not waiting for that moment in time when I need a board member.
Absolutely. So research shows that from the 70s into the 90s, women made serious progress, and then at some point it came to a stall in the workplace. How would you describe how things have moved about in the 2000s?
Right. We've really, in the last couple of years, based on our research, the board composition has really accelerated. So we were stalled in the low double-digit percentage, 10, 11, 12% earlier in this decade. But really in the last 3-4 years, now in our 2017 research that we announced last year, we were nearly 19% of the top 50 public company boards were women. In 10 years ago, that was 12%. So we've really made some nice acceleration, and I really think it is because the business case is now accepted.
Yeah, and everything you're saying really shows the importance of what it is you guys are doing as far as paying attention to the data and collecting the research and sharing that. So what would you say are some of the major barriers to women's advancement in the world of business?
I think it's the recognition that women come about the risk identification and just their general business approach is different than men. So if I'm looking for somebody on my team that looks and thinks like me, that's what I'm going to get, a fairly monogamous team. But really accepting that from diversity comes better performance, and better performance is what I'm interested in as a team leader.
Yeah.
Looking beyond my current networks and thinking about how I can tap into other networks is important. So as women or anybody in a minority population, thinking about what my network looks like, and again thinking beyond just thinking about people like me. So if I'm a woman, go beyond the women networking groups, extend my network beyond women and include men, which might seem counterintuitive, but that's really what I think can move the needle, that cross-pollination, because we want to be surrounded by people that we know and that we are familiar with. And if I'm familiar with more women, I'll be more comfortable. If I'm a man, I'll be more comfortable with women on my team, and vice versa.
Yeah, and so I'd like to focus on you, if we may, for just a moment, because we're talking about women being able to advance in corporate America, and you are a living example of really what is possible. You were just named Senior Vice President this past January, right? And like I said earlier, you're at A.O. Smith, adding corporate responsibility and sustainability functions to your role. So congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
But if you would give us an idea of what it's been like for you in climbing the corporate ladder.
So I have been at A.O. Smith my entire career. So I started right out of college, and probably in the first 15 years, I didn't realize it, but there were champions of Pat Ackerman that I didn't know were including my name in possible promotional roles. And not until I had made several, adding additional responsibilities to my current responsibilities, trying new, getting the opportunities to try new things and do new things, did I recognize, I'm doing great work, yes, but there's something else going on. And we talk a lot about mentors and sponsors. And I really believe that I've had sponsors along the way. Those people are in the conversations with decision makers, identifying that there's this team, there's this strategy, there's this initiative that we want to propel, and who are the people that we think of to lead that. And so my name was voiced in those conversations when I wasn't there. So I really believe it's that sponsorship and the champions in organizations that really can make a difference. They've certainly made a difference for me.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what the Milwaukee Women's Inc. organization really has a mission to do. Is really be that champion for other people that have the talent and really what it takes to excel in different parts of corporate America.
That's exactly right. So it's women helping women, because so often men are in those decision-making and team-building roles. And when there are more women in those roles, there's more women naturally because of our networks. Naturally, there's more women in those slates of candidates for those leadership, meaningful project leader positions.
Yeah, and so I wanted to mention also you hold a Bachelor's of Business Administration degree in finance from UW-Madison and an MBA from Marquette. So you also, correct me if I'm wrong, you are a board member for American Red Cross, Southeastern Wisconsin.
Right.
So with that said, talk about why it's important for women to be represented in the boardroom per se.
And this gets back to the research, and the diversity of thought equals better decision making, and better decision making equals better performance.
Yeah.
So that's so important to have that mixture of perspectives, of experiences, of networks in those, in those key, in those oversight and key decision-making roles, and that's what a board is. It's, it's driving the strategy of organizations. Oftentimes, organizations are best served when disruptive technologies are identified early, or competitive forces that might be coming out of nowhere are identified early. And the more diverse experiences you have on your team or in the boardroom, the better off that CEO is going to be, being able to identify where some of those risks are.
Yeah.
And that's the role of a board. One of the roles of the board is to make sure that the risk, the risk environment is identified and minimized.
Yeah. So I'm going to go here because maybe I've watched too many movies, but do you feel that women who are in corporate America, who have the same attitude as men, are they unfairly labeled as maybe sometimes aggressive or cutthroat, but in reality they are operating no different than the fellas that have moved up the ladder as well?
I can say my demeanor isn't that way, so I can't speak to personal experience. I haven't had that experience, but women have different emotional qualities about them, react differently to different situations. And I was chatting with a CEO yesterday, and he was saying, I can have two candidates, one man and one woman. I know them both. I know that they can both do this job that I'm thinking about. The man's all in. Yep, I can do it. No problem. Let me have at it. And the woman is a little hesitant. I haven't had this experience yet, and my children are young. And this CEO, I think this is a great testament to what the mindset needs to be. Is these are obstacles. We can overcome these obstacles. Let's have another conversation. Are you interested? And if we can overcome what you've just articulated, we as an organization can help remove those obstacles. And then the woman is, yeah, I'm ready. Let me do it. So it's that CEO recognizing that women are going to approach decision making differently.
Yes.
And having that second and third conversation. That's really important.
Yes, and that's kind of like how we run our households, right? We think of every scenario that could happen along the way and how we would be able to tackle that, where men are just like, yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, so let me at it, right? Right.
Absolutely, yeah, it's
right.
a great example. So is there anything else as we wrap up that you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah, so Milwaukee Women Inc. is moving. I think I feel like we're moving to the next level. We're still continuing to measure and do the research. That's important, but we think of, we want to be, and I believe we are, the thought leaders on this topic in the community. We just are launching this week on our website a repository of CVs that each of our steering committee members, there are about 90 of us in the greater Milwaukee area that many of us have completed, and CEOs have been asking us for that. Help me find the women in our community, and so now we have that live, so we're real excited about that.
I love that, and it's a true testament that you've made your mark and people know where to turn.
Right.
That's what it's all about. Congratulations and continued success to you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming by. Pat Ackerman is the chair-elect for Milwaukee Women Incorporated, and she also is the Senior VP of Investor Relations and Treasurer at A.O. Smith. For more information on Milwaukee Women Inc., visit their website at milwaukeewomeninc.org. And when we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll continue talking about women in business. We'll introduce you to a woman who is not only well connected in Milwaukee, she serves as the executive director of the Brewers Community Foundation. We'll talk with Miss Cecilia Gore right after this.